And as an autistic, hyper-fixated loser on politics, for years, I yelled at the institutional Democrats that would not threaten to revoke committee positions from the likes of Joe Manchin and numerous other people. What is this? We got to figure out how to win Joe Manchin back.
Of the Democratic Party seems to be going the way of the Democratic Socialist Party. That's a different party. Bernie Sanders always said, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. Exactly right. He's a Democrat socialist. I caucus with the Democrats, he said. He ran as a Democrat, but he's a Democratic socialist. Now, Mandami in New York, he is a Democratic socialist also, not a Democrat per se. We only have two parties, so you get in that bit.
Bill, here's what you have.
I'm just could I ask the question?
Yes.
Is this where the Democratic Party is going? Is the whole Democratic Party going to be the Democratic Socialist Party?
No. First of all, we are a long way away from 2028. We are not at 2026. We have not had any party primaries. Okay. We are talking about two people who have very compelling messaging strategies and have gotten rightfully a lot of attention for them. But don't think that defines the Democratic Party, which, by the way, is at this point the pro-democracy party. It is a tent big enough. It is a tent big enough to have Liz Cheney and AOC. That is an unwieldy tent. It is very, very, very big. And part of the problem is the Democrats.
Bro, what are we like? It's okay. It's okay to not have Liz Cheney in the tent unless she's preaching the gospel of socialism. Okay? Even then, it's okay. Because she has no motion. She has no emotion. Who you align yourselves with and who you position yourselves against matter when it comes to branding, and it certainly matters when it comes to elections. If you are obeying in advance, or if you are bringing on Liz Cheney without even demanding any concessions from her, then you align with her. It's that simple. And you don't want to align with Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney also is a loser, a whole-ass loser. Nobody cares about Liz Cheney. The last election cycle showed that. The only people that care about Liz Cheney hate Liz Cheney. And we're like, Liz Cheney and the Democratic Party, I don't want nothing to do with this. I just don't understand it. They're like, oh, we really need to... Like, dude, I don't have a lot of emotion. I think it's really stupid when liberals turn around and say, Hasan, you held the keys to the, you could have played a pivotal role in winning the election for the Democrats, but you criticized Kamala Harris and you lost the election. It's like, I don't think that's true. You have to be an idiot if you think that that's real. Having said that, there is one person that I definitely have more motion than, and that's Liz Cheney. I will stand on that. I will say that if there was a person that I had more clout over, if I had more influence over aspects of the Democratic Party's base or the broader American public, is Liz Cheney, which isn't saying much, but it surely shows how busted the priorities of the Democratic Party was, don't you think? We should not be having this wide tent that even features Liz Cheney because she's not worth it. And she's not even bringing that up because she loves Liz Cheney. She's bringing that up to say, look how wide our tent is. Look how welcoming we are. Okay? The problem there is you're just hailing bipartisanship and compromise as a virtue. And if you are not extracting anything, if you're not extracting any concessions, if you're not extracting any propaganda from your previous enemies in the process, then you're not doing anything. You're just propping them up. That's the only thing you're doing. I think you're great, but I don't think you're famous enough to turn an election. Libs are just coping. Of course I don't believe that. What are you talking about? Obviously, I don't believe that either. It is the dumbest thing that liberals say online about me. No, my point was, while I don't have, obviously, the motion to swing the outcome of an election, otherwise Bernie Sanders would be president, okay? I do have more motion than Liz Cheney, but that's not necessarily a way to beef up my influence either. I'm not even saying that I have that much influence. I just have more influence than Liz Cheney because she has none.
Have so many people inside the tent and so much chaos happening on the political landscape, they do not know which direction they're marching in. But woe to anybody that is trying to write the epitaph for the Democratic Party.
Well, let me just say this. I was a Democrat all my life. They better figure out how they lost people like me. okay? And the only thing I have said, when you quit worrying about the working person, their working conditions, you're worried more about a person that's able-bodied and capable of working that won't work versus me who will work, there's something wrong.
I can't say what I want to say. I think charlatans like Joe Manchin that don't toe the party line and basically would be irrelevant if they were Republican, but only are relevant as a disloyal Democrat at times, are some of the biggest scumbags. If we were to do a party purge, it would be the Joe Manchins, which he already purged himself, obviously, but like the Maggie Hassans and the Kirsten Cinemas, again, another person who purged herself, the John Fettermans, like the people that simply sit there and go, well, if you want every single judge to be signed in, I'm there for you. But every other major piece of legislation, I will undermine. I have no power if I'm not a Democrat, because if he was a Republican, he's just another dipshit ass Republican. But as a Democrat, he is the most effective because he can play the role of a spoiler. That's the way he gets into committees. That's the way he gets a shit ton of lobbying money. That's the way he gets to cut out side deals for his immediate family members so that they can get a better deal farming the remainder of wealth that is captive in West Virginia. That's what he does. That is all he did. That's all this asshole did his entire career. I hate these so much. The fact that he just tries to present himself as like being blue collar and like caring about the working class is disgusting. It is a disgusting lie. God, I hate them so much. I hate Joe Manchin. Oh my Lord, I have so much smoke in my heart for Joe Manchin. If you guys recall, I literally said Joe Biden should have arrested and prosecuted Joe Manchin's immediate family on Pod John's. And John Lovett was shocked. You give me the keys to the castle. Watch what I do to these disloyal Democrats. You understand? Watch what I do to these who won't even let the most modest reforms take place without getting a piece of the pie. Oh. Yeah, I would run on an anti-corruption platform and I would advocate for, yes, Chinese style reform. Oh, you got an issue? You're going to jail. Okay, sorry. Because the reality of the matter is these guys are all transparently corrupt. The corruption is a part of the process. But corruption also means that you are malleable. Corruption means you can be forced to do the bidding of the administration. I'm not saying turn a blind eye to corruption, but in the interim, you can make an example of those who are corrupt. You can make an example of those who are corrupt by pointing to the rule book and saying, see, here's where you violated it. And now chickens are coming home to roost because you did not play ball. You have found me at a very Chinese point in my life. I think we're all going through a very Chinese point in our lives. Manchin is horrendous, but I couldn't stand that we can't get anything done because of Manchin rhetoric as if there's no such thing as political power. No, I know. I have smoke for them too. Don't worry. Are you kidding me? I yelled about it every day. See, this is the problem with a lot of people that actually don't watch me other than like watching 20-second clips. I'm an autistic loser when it comes to politics and when it comes to other shit too. All I give a about is politics. So those dipshits that think, oh, Hasan is pie in the sky ideals, like he's just a tanky, he's always making the perfect, the enemy of the good, blah, 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 all this shit. They don't watch me, so they don't know. I talk about process all the time. I have Mr. Process, David Dayen on with regular frequency. Okay? David Dayen of the American Prospect is Mr. Process, okay? And as an autistic, hyper-fixated loser on politics, for years, I yelled at the institutional Democrats that would not threaten to revoke committee positions from the likes of Joe Manchin and numerous other people. When push came to shove, I talked about how bad it was that they were constantly gridlocking themselves, and that actually ran protective cover for the Republicans who would have never voted for these bills anyway, or if you somehow magically were able to pass this through, they would vote against it and then take credit for it after the fact, which they did. I gave numerous examples of how Joe Manchin, for example, is so weak that he could be manipulated into playing ball with the admin as he is supposed to. He can do it the easy way. He can do it the hard way. The hard way would be punishing him for his numerous different proclivities, him and his immediate family alike. Anyway, important to understand that the scramble to throw abortion, trans immigrant rights under the bus on the supposed altar of savvy, pragmatic compromise is 100% because they see it as the only place you go to pick up votes when left economic populism is 100% off the table. Yeah. Ezra Klein says, the more worried you are about authoritarianism, the more willing you've got to be to run pro-life Democrats. Oh my God. In red states. Oh my God. 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 That's not how this works, man. This is not a popular position in this country. Are these guys just paid to lose? Like, what is happening? Ezra Klein is supposed to be this brilliant liberal. I'm going to have a seizure, bro. It makes no sense. Ezra Klein says the more worried you are about authoritarianism, the more willing you got to be to run pro-life Democrats in red states. I think they happen to be higher now, and I do think a lot of what is happening in terms of the structure of the system itself is dangerous. I think that our hour is late in many ways. My view is that a lot of the people who embrace alarm don't embrace what I think obviously follows from that alarm, which is the willingness to make strategic and political decisions you find personally discomforting, even though they are obviously more likely to help you. Adam Johnson says, important to understand that the scramble to throw abortion and trans immigrant rights under the bus on the supposed altar of savvy, pragmatic compromise is 100% because they see it as the only place you go to pick up votes when left populism is 100% off the table. And he is right. It's actually with left populism that you're supposed to build a robust coalition of people who come on board who otherwise wouldn't on key culture war issues. If you make the argument, do you want healthcare? That means trans people are going to get it too. What do you want more? Free healthcare? Or to punish trans people? You force people into that position to going, honestly, yeah, I think free healthcare is pretty sweet. I don't give a shit about trans people all of a sudden. That's the point. That's how you build a broad coalition on class first politics. The problem is liberals don't want to do that. Liberals want to engage in uneven grounds on every single issue because the culture war is designed to be inherently reactionary. So if you are playing in their playing field, you are destined to lose. And these guys also openly don't mind lying. So even if you're playing in their field, you could at the very least try to engage in counter messaging, talk about how racist and pieces of shit they are, talk about the humanity of the immigrant neighbors that we have, talk about the much better pathway to solve this problem that many Americans actually think is better, like mass amnesty, conditional amnesty. Right? Meanwhile, they are abiding by a position that doesn't exist. There is no pro-life Democrat. A pro-life Democrat is going to lose votes because there are a lot of pro-choice Democrats that are not going to want to vote for that guy. Because they're going to be like, ew, what? Why is this the guy I'm voting for? And they're not going to win a single Republican because they're pro-life. If you're pro-life, you are already significantly more mentally ill than the average American. You are at the heart of the Republican Party's core base of support. You are one of the most insane people on the planet. This doesn't mean that you think abortion is, but you also think that the government shouldn't intervene in this. If you feel that way, then congratulations. A lot of people feel that way, okay? They vote Democrat. But what I'm talking about is people who vote on behalf of the abortionist, so we need to combat it party. They're not voting for the Democrats. They're going to say you're a gay libtard, and they're going to go vote for the pro-life Republican instead. Shut the up. This is how Kamala Harris lost. Why? If you're a Republican, why would you want a diet version, dude? Why wouldn't you want the full-strength soda? You are much more willing to compromise with your side of the ideological spectrum than go to the opposition side. The irony, of course, is yes, they would most likely win over Republicans just like Zohran Mamdani did if they were to do broad, sweeping economic reforms, an anti-corruption campaign that focuses on punishing the wealthy, focuses on extracting these resources back in the hands of the select few in society, back to a more equitable outcome for all Americans. You fucking run on that shit. Republicans are going to be like, you know what? This is a different kind of Democrat. Maybe not as gay and libtarded as I previously thought. I might vote for this motherfucker, even though he wants gay people to have health care and trans people to have health care too. This is why there's been such a push lately to create space for taking on woke sacred cows, Abundance, Searchlight, Newsom. They're trying to reconstruct 1990s Clintonism of culture issue triangulation and corporatism, because everything is up for debate for corporatism. This is one of the few instances where I actually slightly disagree with Adam Johnson, because that never went away. Okay? That never truly went away. That was always the beating heart of the Democratic Party. Okay? But because they respond to like broad public sentiment shifts, like the only thing that changed and made society a little bit more woke, I guess, was in the Obama era with Obergefell, right? Like outside of that, they still immediately were like, maybe we went a little too far. Let's scale it back. There's an obvious path for Dems to win back the working class, but Shore's poll-tested faux populist rhetorical box-checking notwithstanding, it's off the table for places like CAP, Center for American Progress, majority Democrats pack, big donors, because it would radically undermine the way they all get rich. And pussy too. Yeah. Conservatives don't know that taxing billionaires is leftist. They don't know that universal health care is leftist. Conservatives just know those policies make sense. Exactly. Let me be queer. Breaking. Many Dems are now leaning towards a Harris-Buttigieg ticket in 2028. What's your reaction? It's important that Democrats never learn anything for our entire lives. It's so funny because they performed spectacularly poorly in the 2020 primaries. God, we are a party of losers, bro. The Democrats are such fucking losers. When I say we, I mean like the broad left, all the way ranging from like blue dog Democrats and establishment Democrats down to like Maoist third worldists, like this broad anti-Trump coalition of people that are aligned and want to resist against like the fascist encroachment in this country, is unfortunately only represented at the political level by some of the stupidest fucking losers of all time. Some of the biggest losers. Oh my God, Lenin would be disgusted. Lenin would spit on us. He would. God, I hate this shit. It's just the reason why it always feels like there is no positive solution here is because we don't have any good leadership, man. We don't have any leadership whatsoever. Abortion rights are beating Kamala in every single state that voted on them. Progressive policies aren't electable. Unpopular Democrat politicians are. But yeah, ask Ezra. Real centrism hasn't been tried, guys. Okay? Real centrist liberalism hasn't been tried. If we just slap on a new patina to it, call it abundance, we can do it. Okay? We can do it. How can you look at this and see it as anything but a controlled opposition party at that point? I'm sorry. It truly feels to me like billionaires are farming these different initiatives on the Democratic Party to ensure that Republicans, whenever they're in charge, deregulate and cut tax for the wealthy. And then Democrats rarely ever present an alternative to that. And when they actually do win power somehow, because the Republicans fucking suck ass, okay, when they come into power, God forbid, they claw back any of those deregulatory aspects of the economy. Holy fuck. Today, I went to Democrat Representative Tim Kennedy's campaign volunteer meeting. It was shocking how much progressive language there was on their campaign flyers about billionaires and oligarchy. But when JVP put his feet to the fire about going to Israel 2 months ago, he could not call it a genocide and lost the room entirely. Everyone was screaming at him. Yes, Israel in this regard, by the way, is the perfect way to communicate earnesty. Okay, that's it. For many Americans, obviously, for many Americans of good conscience, Israel is a very important issue. But outside of that, even for people in the margins who think like, oh, this is really fucked up, Israel is the best way to show that you are earnest, to show that you are honest, to show that you are unyielding, you are uncompromising. It automatically classifies you as a different kind of politician. Lenin warned us. Oh, I know exactly what this is. Yep. My goat, Patrick Stewart, as Lenin.
Could get help from one of the groups in the liberal movement.
No. Don't trust the liberals. They will betray you.
Lenin. Don't worry. On Tuesday, it's all over. Christian Talk thinks the rapture is happening on Tuesday, by the way. Oh my God. Imagine. Looks like leadership will be AOC in 2028. Cooked. Dog, I'm going to keep it a $1.50 with you. Okay? For all of the issues, this is an endlessly better alternative than any other fucking thing that you could present for the Democratic Party's future. Okay? I just hope that she is way more unyielding if this were to happen. She needs to be uncompromising. She needs to be unyielding. She needs to be a real fighter. Like, no triangulations. You can stand on the issues that you care about in the same way that Bernie did, right? Nearest Cope on this is a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes economic populism popular. Expand intent with economic populism. It will require you to turn against your corporate donors. Economic populism is good, but you should also acknowledge working class voters are not as a whole left on cultural issues. Senator Sanders has. Dude, these guys don't understand. The argument is you give voters things, okay? You give voters something that they want. Right now, you're giving them nothing that they want. And also on top of that, presenting a unfavorable position on culture war issues that they either don't give a shit about, so you look like a fucking fool, or they actively despise because they're fucking insanely bigoted. And they'll never vote for you anyway, okay? If you offer them a carrot, then they're way more willing to look the other way about the trans shit. Fuck. I'm so certain of this. I'm so certain of this, dude. I promise. Like, I'll give you an example. Do I believe that there are people who might not be like super on board with Zoran's version of being on that fuck Israel tip? Okay. Do I believe that there are people out there in New York City that might not fully agree with what Zoran thinks about Israel? Absolutely. But those people, you know what they want? Fucking fast and free buses for sure. So they make that calculation. Democrats demand loyalty without any fucking assurances that they'll do right by their voters. It's so stupid. The idea that Republicans win because they have tremendous loyalty that they've generated from their base without giving them any treats is idiotic. Republicans are able to give their base treats all the time. They literally will withstand political and social punishments as a consequence of this. Look no further than the 40-year project to literally overturn Roe v. Wade, which was an established super precedent. Okay? That was a gift. That was a present to their most loyal fans. Okay? Because they reward that loyalty. The reason why Republicans got so mad about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff is because for the first time ever on a culture war related issue, the Republicans said, no, you're not getting this actually. Better things are not possible for you. Something that we promise you we're not going to give. They were like shocked. They were like, what? What's going on here? It was a confusing moment for many of them. They do that. And because they do that successfully, then their voters will forget. Their voters will forget about how they didn't actually fix the prices at all. Liberals don't want to give any treats whatsoever to the base. Kamala Harris says she called Gavin Newsom for an endorsement after Biden's exit, but he brushed her off with a short text. Governor Newsom replied, hiking, will call back, and never followed up. Oh, that's fucking, god damn, he is so gruesome. Oh my God. That's because him and Nancy did not want Kamala Harris to be the replacement. That's why.